Janice Martino is with FIRST, a coordinator at SUNY Poly. We're talking about robotics, and this has become a really, really big deal. The Central New York 2018 Regional Robotics Competition is going on up at SUNY. And good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you.
This has become a big deal, right? And it's not just for boys.
Oh,
this is a very big deal as girls and STEM and.
Actually, that's one of the things I think FIRST as an organization is most proud of is that we're nearing the 50-50 mark for participation.
Wow, that's big.
And that's really something they strive for, and it's something we do locally here. We have, the girls teams are awesome. We have girls teams that are in Girl Scouts or Pink Power, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not quite as prevalent in the girls as the boys just yet. But we are sure making strides.
Are they better than the boys?
Oh, heck yeah.
Mm-hmm. I knew you were going to say that.
They're more focused than the boys, I think.
That's true.
That's fair.
Yeah. And that might go right on through into adulthood. Just for the
girls
record.
are checking out the robots, the boys are checking out the girls. So
partly true.
I'm sorry. I want to ask about what's the age group, and this is something that, if I have this right, parents need to seek out to get their kids in. This isn't necessarily a class that's offered in every school, right?
True story. So the truth of the matter is that I've been involved in FIRST for a decade, and it was long before I worked for SUNY Poly. And so the way I got involved with FIRST and robotics is my son, who is now 17 and a senior in high school, was in third grade, and I made a call up to SUNY Poly to Elizabeth Rossi. Hi, Elizabeth, if you're listening, my predecessor.
Yeah.
And I said, I'd really like to get my son on a robotics team. And she said, start your own team.
Wow. Did your school offer it? At that point, the school didn't offer it.
In fact, so my children went to Albany School in Utica, and we were the first robotics team. And these are the younger kids, first Lego League robotics team in the Utica City School District.
Wow.
And so we've
something,
been
by the way, that if you go downstate, has been going on for a long time. They were certainly ahead of us. But it is growing here, and it's so important that it grows here because if they want to do anything like this after they get out of school or go to college,
absolutely,
you got to have some experience.
So that is where we are with my son now.
Yeah.
So he's 17 and applying to colleges like Carnegie Mellon and Worcester Polytechnic for robotics engineering, and so it really was
awesome.
Transformative in his life. And so that's how I sort of accidentally ended up in this position. But I always tell the story, the hair club for men. I'm not just the president. I'm a client.
Yeah.
So that's
Hey,
that's the true story. I'm a believer in this.
Thanks for mentioning the hair. I
was looking at you when I talked about it.
You were, yeah. I'm glad I reminded you of that comparison. The hardest fun you'll ever have is how it is described, and this is for students high school age, though, right? This is particular freshman to senior.
SUNY Poly's been involved with FIRST as a partner for a decade, as I mentioned, and the ages for children to be involved in robotics starts in kindergarten. We have junior first Lego League, first Tech Challenge, and this is the first robotics competition. So this is the granddaddy of FIRST. So this is high school age students from literally all over the world.
Yeah.
We have 2 teams coming from China.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Probably 800 to 1,000 brilliant STEM-minded high school students from all over the Northeast and the world that will be on the SUNY Poly campus for 3 full days.
And how amazing, how blown away are you compared to when you started with your son when he was in third grade to what they're doing right now?
I've always been blown away because my background is in science. I'm more of a life sciences kind of girl, biochemistry. So the truth is, I think a lot of people, when they look at getting their kids involved in this, think they have to be an engineer to start a team. And the truth of the matter is, way back when my son was in third grade, I worked really hard to work on, the programming and things like that. And within about 2 weeks, they had surpassed me. So I had a group of 10 fourth grade boys that I worked with. So we severely underestimate their abilities. But these are the big robots. These are 125-pound robots competing on a field the size of a basketball court. 3 robots versus 3 robots. I mean, this is spectacular.
Yeah,
this is the real deal.
And is it basically like a basketball game? It's pass it to another robot and find it into a goal area?
So did you look at the game? You sound like you might have looked at the game.
Well, I've covered this first stuff for probably 5-10 years
every year
now.
For the first robotics competition in January, I think it was January 9th this year, a new challenge is released. So the field, although the size of it remains the same, changes every year. And so those kids have 6 weeks to start from nothing to build a 125-pound robot that accomplishes the tasks that are needed for this year's game.
Okay.
It's a really intensive, real-world engineering challenge. 6 weeks is a short time, and I will be with this team here because we host a first robotics competition team at SUNY Poly. I will be there, I think it's February 20th, at midnight bagging that robot up. So every team has the same amount of time, and then at the end of that 6 weeks, you bag it, and a supervisor has to sign off on it, and they are not allowed to touch it again until competition.
Oh, very interesting. And we're so what is the game this year? Are you able to tell
this
what
game
that
is called First Powerup.
Yeah.
It's a throwback to kind of 80s video games. And this year they have to move cubes, which are actually milk crates, covered in nylon, which actually makes them really cumbersome to deal with because it's not
slippery almost.
Yeah.
And the surface is not the same. It's not uniform across the cube. There are multiple ways to earn points. One of the ways is there's a giant scale in the middle of this field. So if the scale is at the top end for you, I think they'll be mad, but I think it's 76 inches tall. So the robots have to lift and pile cubes on the scale to try and get it to tip their way. That's only one of the challenges. There's also a lower. They try to make it so that there are challenges that even a beginner team can at least participate in. But the interesting thing this year is that the points are actually being tallied by the number of seconds that you own the scales. So it's really interesting. Cubes are fed in through a human player outside of the rink, and it's just there's so much strategy to it because you also have to. You have to work with an alliance. Yeah. The alliances during the beginning are randomly assigned, so you don't know the other two teams that you're going to be working with ahead of time. If you advance on to semifinals and to finals, you get to choose your alliance partners. So one of the things that these teams have to do is scout the other team so that they know which teams they want to choose and which teams best complement them. First robotics competition is meant to be the team is meant to be run as a small business. So not everybody on the team will even touch the robot. Some of them do just scouting. Some of them will do social media. Some of them do video. Some of them, do the finances and the fundraising and things like that. So some of these teams that are coming, we have a small team at SUNY Poly. It's probably 20 kids or so. Many of these teams are well in excess of 50 kids.
Wow. Is there a language barrier issue when if they're coming from China?
It's the best part.
That is the best part.
Yep,
okay.
That's the best part.
Very cool. And, we talk about robotics today. Imagine where we're going to be in 10 years, how quickly this is growing. I'm not sure. There's a whole other thing going on right now in studying robotics, and that is how does society continue? How do we compete? How do people work when there's going to be such automation?
Are you getting nervous about AI? Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, I mean, they're already doing radios that can read, or robots that can read the news.
Yeah, they don't need us.
Sitting here in this chair.
Some say we're robots already. We're just pushing buttons. All right. When can people show up?
It is free and open to the public.
All right.
People should show up. You should bring your children. We need volunteers. I need something like 125 volunteers a day, and I need sponsors. You can imagine it's an expensive event.
When is it, by the way?
It is March 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. The 3rd and 4th are the competition days.
So this is important time right now trying to get everything together.
And when you asked, you were told start your own team. Is that true today? Where can people get more info? How do they do it?
They can reach out to us at SUNY Poly, first at SUNY Poly. It's right on our webpage. So I will help facilitate for anybody who wants to start a team, especially at the younger levels.
Right.
The first robotics competition team number 5030, the Second Mouse, which is sponsored and housed at SUNY Poly, is a regional robotics team. It is open to any area high school student who's interested in showing up and working hard.
How do they reach out to you? Right up at SUNY Poly?
Yep, right up on the webpage.
All
If you look at first on the webpage, if it says first at SUNY Poly, and you click on it, the email will go to me. Or it's Janice Martino at sunyit.edu.
All right, Janice, thanks. We appreciate it. This is really cool.